Welcome back to the Daily Dope Show. Your friendly commentator, Brandon, here, with some updates on that DOJ situation where, Trump kind of went shopping for ways to crack down on marijuana. Probably the most important thing going right now, right? Nobody's dying from overdoses out there, and I from what I've seen, the crime is just going out of control around this legal marijuana stuff, right? No, it ain't. So these guys, look at this guy's suit. Look at his tie. Look at even the cufflinks and the undershirt here. I mean, this guy, he does not fuck around when it comes to, spending a lot of money on his look. He's got these glasses. Those look like some $700 frames, maybe more. Nice hairdo, just slicked back. I mean, this guy is just, he's looking crispy. Very crispy. So who is this guy? I've done a story about him before. He came out talking about this same story, same situation. Just previously we heard from him already about this. So this is the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. And this is Tom Angel. I've been reading from him since I started this channel, and he's working with the at Forbes now. I used to read somebody else over at Forbes. I'm not sure if I'll still be seeing anything coming through from them, but now apparently Tom Angel's there. And I noticed that this story had, here we go, 120,000 views. I don't know if he was getting that kind of exposure over at the other place he was writing for. But I know, he was at the one where Mass Roots. Yeah, he was at Mass Roots, and I'm just not sure that that was the kind of exposure he was getting. I don't know if that many people was seeing his stories. So I think this is a good thing for him, and I'm sure he probably gets paid, and it probably was some kind of a promotion. So glad to see people are coming up in this world of getting the word out about what's going on with marijuana in this country as things are slowly coming around. Then we have this. So the headline is Justice Department number 2 makes ominous comments about marijuana legalization. The Trump administration is continuing to weigh whether or not to reverse Obama-era guidelines that generally allow states to legalize marijuana without federal interference, the Justice Department's number 2 official said on Thursday. Quote, "We are reviewing that policy. We haven't changed it, but we are reviewing it. We're looking at the states that have legalized or decriminalized marijuana, trying to evaluate what that impact is," Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said in an appearance at the Conservative Heritage Foundation. So I'm just going to guess that, everything that he said there was kind of to appease the right-wing masters that he likes to serve, I guess. Quote, "And I think there is some pretty significant evidence that marijuana turns out to be more harmful than a lot of people anticipated, and it's more difficult to regulate than I think was contemplated ideally by some of those states." So part by part here, he thinks it's pretty significant evidence that marijuana turns out to be more harmful than a lot of people anticipated. Wrong. In fact, I think the exact opposite is true. What does that even mean? I mean, it sounds like you're talking about health outcomes. It sounds like you're talking about maybe he's, this is a hint towards that drug driving thing, because they keep pulling out these padded numbers and these fake numbers about how there's all these drug driving increases when none of it really is scientifically proven to be from cannabis driving or any of this because of legalization. Like, no one can just, empirically say, oh, legalizing marijuana caused these accidents to go, to increase, or for more people to be out there driving stoned. You can't prove that. There's no way you can prove that just because marijuana was legalized for consumption by adults in very few public places on any legalization that I've seen. So most of this is just like home use. I don't know, but basically, yeah, I don't know what he's trying to say there. It didn't turn out to be more harmful than a lot of people anticipated, because a lot of people were like you. They were, barking the reefer madness 24/7 before the legalization happened, and all the things that they said was going to happen didn't actually happen. So it didn't come true that there was going to be like all these kids that ended up in the emergency room from overdoses. No, that's the opioid epidemic. And then there was like all this worry about the drug driving being an epidemic, and everybody, just skyrocketing rates of people driving stoned, killing people in car accidents. That ain't happening, man. I don't care what you guys think your narrative is. That is just not happening. Then he says it's more difficult to regulate than I think was contemplated ideally by some of those states. Not really. It's just that the regulation, the attempt at regulating it, and the attempt at stifling the state's production to just their own state's needs, instead of having some kind of an export system to other states and countries like other businesses are afforded the ability to do. I think that has a lot to do with it. But overall, I think what he's talking about here is the regulations are not as easy to do. Like, he's saying there's a lot of teen use, or there's a lot of marijuana getting out of the state to other states, smuggled, if you will. And you could say that there is some truth to some of that. But is that to say that it wasn't happening before legalization? And what I'm really getting at here, buddy, is you are right. You have made a true statement right here. It is more difficult to regulate than I think was contemplated ideally by some of those states. How about this? It was more difficult to regulate than the DEA ended up being able to regulate it after 80 years of trying. You guys have tried to regulate it as in get rid of it altogether. That's pretty much regulating. In that regulating environment, that means that you don't want anybody ever to have any marijuana. And you never had any success at all with that. So nobody's contemplating that it's going to be some easy thing to regulate. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get through this. Under the so-called Cole Memo, named after the former Obama Justice Department official who authored it in 2013, the federal government set out certain criteria that, if followed, would allow states to implement their own laws, mostly without intervention. Those criteria concerns areas like youth use, impaired driving, and interstate trafficking. Bing, 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 like I just speculated on his little statement there. So this statement basically is a summary statement, in my opinion. His summary statement to those concerns in the Cole Memo. So I guess you can just expect to see a crackdown next. If it can be afforded or whatever. The country is in such a fucking mess right now. And you're acting like we got the money to just crack down on all these states that legalize marijuana in any form that it has legalized or decriminalized. He threw that out there too. We have whole states that are decriminalized. We have places like in Michigan, there's like several towns and cities, municipalities that have decriminalized. Like over a dozen of them. I don't know what you're talking about, man. You're talking about going to war with your own country. In April, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, a longtime legalization opponent, directed a Justice Department task force to review the memo and make recommendations for possible changes. But that panel did not provide Sessions with any ammunition to support a crackdown on states, according to the Associated Press, which reviewed excerpts of the task force's report to the Attorney General. So when I first seen this headline today, it wasn't this one by Tom Angel. It was a different headline from a different outlet. And they were basically saying, Rosenstein has basically said, we're still kicking the can down the road on this one. Probably not going to do a whole lot. And then, I mean, maybe that was like the briefing somebody got about what he was going to say when he got to the Heritage Foundation. But when he actually got to the fucking Heritage Foundation, this is the kind of shit he was saying. So Rosenstein expressed concern that people are misrepresenting the still in effect memo. Quote, that's been perceived in some places almost as if it creates a safe harbor, but it doesn't. And it's clear that it doesn't, he said. That is, even if under the terms of the memo you're not likely to be prosecuted, it doesn't mean that what you're doing is legal or that it is approved by the federal government or that you protected or that you are protected from prosecution in the future. Whatever, typo maybe. But anyway, what he's saying there is clear as fucking day. Like, I don't care what the fuck that memo says. You are breaking the law. You're breaking the law. The federal government don't like what you're doing. And furthermore, at any given time, we can just come and crack down on you. 29 states in Washington, D.C. have comprehensive legal medical cannabis programs, and 8 states in D.C. have legalized marijuana for adults 21 years of age. Citing ongoing federal prohibition laws, Rosenstein said marijuana is illegal and it's a controlled substance, and there are no authorized uses for it, which very limited exceptions for research approved by the DEA. That's just coming from somebody who's more concerned about how nice his suit and tie looks with his fucking perfectly combed hair than even knows what the fuck's going on in this country. All right? First of all, dumbass, there's going to be fucking people smoking marijuana whether you have legalized marijuana, whether you have no legalized marijuana. Why don't you just stop it, all right? The federal government just needs to fucking chill. Have you ever heard of states' rights? I know you're a Republican because of the way your hair is so perfect. How about them states' rights, man? Does that shit matter to you anymore? And Republicans? The only thing you use it for is to fucking discriminate against minorities. That's it. All right, anyway, back to this shit. Without saying when a decision or announcement might be made, he said that the administration will, quote, take that all into consideration and then make a determination whether or not to revise that policy. Well, you know, the policy came from Cole. That was just another one of those federal prosecutors / judge type people that, you know, that's who they're looking to talk to in the Justice Department. They're saying, you know, should we keep this Cole memo around? What do we really want to do here? I think the Cole memo's on the chopping block at this point. I used to have some optimism when Trump first got in there, and, you know, I was going by what his campaign rhetoric was. I mean, I knew that the Republicans were the ones that actually took over power in Washington. They took over the state, the Senate, the fucking Supreme Court's pretty much just about theirs. Trump's kind of a Republican. And he definitely is going to basically do what people that are already like churning the lever, you know, cranking the cranks and levering the levers. He's going to go by what they say, you know. And when the Department of Justice is coming over there talking to Trump like, yo, we want to, you know, we want to do this crackdown. What do you think Trump's going to do? I personally think Trump has a little bit more of a heart and soul to him than some people give him credit for. But I think he's still going to allow the DOJ to attempt to do something. So I guess it's just a matter of time now before we see them say something about the Cole memo, like, oh, we're no longer going to go with the Cole memo, or we're going to fucking still bust people. Even with the Cole memo there, you can use it in your defense if you want. We don't care. And that's kind of the way these guys operate, man. These Republicans, especially in this new administration, they basically think that since they got all branches of government, that it's like, you know, it's time for a free-for-all to do whatever the hell we want. And, you know, quite frankly, guys, Republicans are the prohibitionists. You might hear me talking shit about Democrats from time to time. I'm no Democrat. I'm no Republican. I'm an independent thinker, and I'm not owned by any like echo chamber. I don't buy into that shit. I just like to be a free thinker, and I don't see anything good coming from the Democrats, but I don't see evil, crazy bullshit like this coming from them. This is Republican style shit. Republicans are talking crackdown. They're talking throw you in fucking prison. That's what this guy's saying. Medical marijuana. He says there is no legal use for marijuana. In the federal government's eyes, in this guy's eyes, look at this guy. Look at his fucking eyes. In this crazy, ridiculous man's eyes. Look at this fucking guy. In his eyes, one of those kids that you see with Dravet syndrome that's going into seizure, and this kid could die. All of a sudden, somebody comes along with one of those, it's some kind of, I think it's a CBD. It might even have THC in it. I don't know. But it's like a nasal injector or a mouth spray, back of the throat spray kind of thing. And it just takes like 2 or 3 sprays. And in about 10 seconds, those seizures stop completely. They fade out, and then within 30 seconds, they've stopped. In this guy's fucking eyes, in these crazy eyes right here, this guy right here says that that's illegal and that the federal government frowns upon that. No matter what you think you're doing, you're breaking the law. Jeff Sessions is pretty scary, but this guy right here, he scares me even more than Sessions. This guy right here, Sessions' right-hand man. And I think he's kind of just, he's been wanting to go this hard in the paint for a long time. And his boss is Sessions, so of course he's pushing it, man. He's pushing the rhetoric harder than I've ever heard it been pushed before. I mean, you know, I can't say that. I grew up when Ronald Reagan was president, so I heard Nancy Reagan on TV. I seen George H.W. Bush sitting there talking about crack, sitting there talking about marijuana, sitting there talking about how if you don't think that we have room in prison for people who get caught with possessing marijuana, think again, because we'll just fucking build more prisons. I've heard that kind of rhetoric before. So this he's pretty fucking hardcore. I'm putting him in the same ball game as those people as far as anti-marijuana rhetoric goes. That's where I put this guy. Jeff Sessions, he's just he's just one of those old-fashioned Alabama Republican Christian, you know, dudes that has a lot of stake in the private prison industry and shit. I mean, I don't know much about Sessions, but his rhetoric doesn't scare me like this guy's. Sessions' rhetoric is more like that cartoon rhetoric shit. He really don't know what he's talking about. This guy right here just is going by the law. You know, he's just like talking legality shit. Currently he's correct. As long as that CSA says marijuana's on Schedule 1, everything the fucking guy said is right on point. So the only thing we can do is change that, I guess. This guy's not going out anywhere for a while. And I mean, if Sessions gets fucking fired for some reason, this guy might even become number 1. I doubt it, though, because it's a political job more than anything else. So somebody like this is like the Mario and Luigi situation where Mario's the front man, kind of like Sessions. Like, he's the guy out there talking like the cartoon version of the rhetoric. Well, this guy is like Luigi in the background, really getting the work done. He's got the real fucking deal rhetoric. And the shit that he wants to do is probably more enshrined in like actual legal activities and tax evasion things, or I don't know. He's way more by the book type shit than just kicking in doors and handing out RICO tickets like it's some kind of fucking, you know, free for all. All right, that's all I got on this. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe to that channel.